And welcome once again to the Movies and Stuff show. My name is Dan, and joining me is my co-host. Spoiler alert, Abe.
Spoiler alert. Already?
I I was alerting people that it was a spoiler that you were joining me as my
Oh,
co-host.
oh. That one went right over my head completely.
Well, it is our very first live show, so we are allowed to not sound as smooth as we usually do on our pre-recorded stuff.
That's true. We're not quite silk yet.
No, even though our editing process is just pretty much like, so we recorded it. Let's just post it. It's good, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
We're going to talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens. I saw it today. You saw it yesterday. So, for the first part of the show, I was thinking that we'll just kind of talk about our individual experiences with seeing the movie, our general spoiler free thoughts on it, and then some other Star Wars goodness. And then we'll give a little bit of a warning and we'll get into the many plot points and some of the more spoilery stuff, if you will, and see if that stuff worked for us. How's that sound?
Yeah, that works for me. I like it. Yeah. You
So
want me?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was gonna say. So as I mentioned, like I saw this film this morning, and you saw it last night. I saw it 2D. You saw it 3D.
Yes, I did.
I want to know about your experience seeing it.
I was not happy with the 3D experience.
Mm.
It had nothing to do with the actual 3D, the conversion, or the shooting of it at all. It actually had specifically to do with the Dolby 3D. There's something really weird about Dolby 3D that isn't happening with Real D 3D. The lenses are reflective, apparently really reflective in these glasses, and the light from the screen was like bouncing off my actual glasses, which I had to wear because I wasn't going to wear contacts at midnight, and it was bouncing back and forth as best I could tell between my glasses and the 3D glasses, and it created like, I hate to say this with a J.J. Abrams movie, it created lens flare. It was horrible, dude. I actually, honest to God, I didn't even read the damn title crawl because I was trying to find the sweet spot so I wouldn't see the glare anymore. It was horrible.
You want me to tell you about the title crawl?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, we'll wait until the spoiler
Oh,
section.
okay. Okay.
General thoughts on the film though itself. Did you like it?
I did. I did like it an awful lot.
You know, I I left the theater and my gut reaction was that was fun. That was entertaining. And then like in my car ride back from the theater home, I started kind of like picking it apart, like finding the faults in it. And I was like, this didn't work for me. I didn't really like this. But then after like hours of just even thinking about it, yeah, man, I like it. I like it a lot. I do want to see it again. I want to give it a the more I think about it, the more I like it. And you know, I think my one uh, gripe is something that was unavoidable. And my one gripe is that it wasn't necessarily original. You know, it was a rehashing, if you will, of the original Star Wars trilogy. Even a lot of the major plot points were very similar to things that have happened in previous Star Wars movies. So that's a gripe, but I think it was unavoidable. I think J.J. Abrams had a very tough challenge here to be able to reboot this franchise, make it relevant again, and set it up for future movies. So what he did was a little bit of fan service, maybe a lot of bit fan service, giving the people what they want. But I don't think he put out a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's well made. And you made the joke about the lens flares. I actually cannot recall lens flares.
I don't think there were any lens flares in this one. No.
If it was very subtle. Maybe
Right.
some lightsaber stuff that, we just missed.
No, I agree with you. It does have a little. The story is a little parallel-y to some other Star Wars movies, but I don't think that's a weakness necessarily. I mean, it has the same rhythm as some of the other Star Wars movies. I think that's to help kind of tell the audience it's going to be okay. Right the track. Get the ship on the right course. That's how I read the Star Wars plot.
And let's just throw this out there, though. It's better than any of the prequels.
Oh, absolutely. Not
by
even
far,
close. Hands
by
down.
far.
Yeah.
It's way better than those prequels.
Oh yeah. It it I don't want to say it apologizes for the prequels, but it's definitely working to undo the damage of the prequels.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's a course correction. It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
righting the ship,
Yeah.
and it's not. It's you and I were discussing it earlier. If using some sports kind of analogies here, it's a game manager. It's
Yes.
it's it's not it's not the Brett Favre trying to throw, the 80-yard touchdown pass.
No, no.
It's moving the clock. It's being very efficient. It's being very good at what it does. It's a win. JJ won. When you're going to look at the box office, it's a win. When you're going to look at how he set up the future movies, it's a win. Now, I one of my gut reactions when I saw it was this was kind of like a 2-hour commercial for the next two movies. Really, what it was is it's a setup. It was a lot of setup for things to come. It's not to say that things didn't happen in this movie. Stuff happened.
Oh,
Some cool
absolutely.
stuff happened.
Yeah.
But it was more like, okay, I'm really gonna set this up. The next two guys, it's Ryan Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson.
He's the next one. Yes.
He's the next one. And then was it the guy that did Jurassic World, right? Colin,
Mm-hmm.
whatever his name is. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin something. Colin something or Irish. I'm sure. I'm sure. Uh, they're gonna have some more freedom to do a little bit more, hopefully riskier stuff. It is Disney property, but I think that they're gonna be able to explore some things outside of what we've seen. But you know, if we've learned anything about history or even about mythology or storytelling, is that it's cyclical. You know, there's a lot of the same arcs, a lot of the same story arcs, a lot of the same things. History repeats itself. You know, part of me wishes, yeah, they didn't, try to do this or try to do that. And in the second part of the film, I'll elaborate more. You know, but I mean, you know, I'm not the one writing these films. If I was, then I wouldn't be doing the show because I'd have a lot of money and I'd be doing another show. I'm sure you'd
Right.
still be with me.
Oh yeah. For life. For life.
Um, but yeah, it was a good way to right the ship, erase the memories of Jar Jar from our brain. It had some good humor to it, some pretty funny parts. It was surprising, you know,
Was it
that
surprising? Really? I mean,
that
it,
it wasn't corny is what I was gonna say. It was surprising that it wasn't corny because you're so used to like these previous the prequels where the humor is just so kind of like forced down your throat and just not funny.
yeah.
And
No, I
so
agree.
that's your most recent memories. And so it was surprising. It was refreshing, I guess it was, to see that the humor was more in line with some of the stuff that the wisecracks that Han was doing in the original trilogy.
No, I agree. It was a lot more like that. The people were acting like people again in this movie. It was nice to see characters. I'm not going to say like, super complex characters, but characters nonetheless in a Star Wars movie again.
I think characters were good. I think the acting was very good. Daisy Ridley, loved her performance. Thought she was great.
She was great.
John Boyega, solid performance. Looked like he was having fun. Um, what'd you think of Adam Driver?
It was tough for me to get a read on him. He was in it not a whole lot, to be honest. I thought he did well for the little bit of time he was on.
I was very surprised. I thought he did a good job.
Hmm.
I was very surprised, and not necessarily surprised that he's a good actor because I mean I only know him from the 3 minutes of Girls that I've watched.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's not. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I could see him as a good actor. I was surprised what he was able to do with that character. You know, it was not an easy character because there's a lot of unevenness in a way about Kylo Ren and a lot of emotional stuff, and it went into some weird kind of territories that I didn't necessarily expect it to go into,
Mm.
and he handled it well.
He did handle it well, didn't he? I liked it. Yeah. I don't want to get too spoilery, so I'm just kind of trying to be careful what I say right now. We can get spoilery later, but yeah, I guess he did do well.
From a filmmaking standpoint, though, I've seen some other people kind of criticize the cinematography, criticize the overall look of the film.
What's wrong with that? I mean, what's
I had nothing. There's nothing that I could actually like. Maybe upon rewatch, but watching it the first time, there was nothing glaring. The special effects looked great. The the camera work, especially on Jakku looked awesome.
I did.
Um, some of these other planets that they introduced and they showed, uh, they look good. The sets look good. I was impressed with the practical effects. There were good practical effects. It wasn't just you know ILM doing its thing.
Right. No, and it feels like you're really there. It feels like you're really in a place again, which was so refreshing for Star Wars again. It actually felt like we were on different worlds and not a green screen.
Right, right. It felt
Organic?
real. Yeah, exactly. Organic, real. It felt you know. I mean those pre. Here's the funny thing about those prequels too is they take place, of course, before the originals. You know, in the timeline of things, but the technology was much sleeker. The world looked like a cleaner place. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like that this got back to it's like the world's not a clean place. The I guess the rebels, if you will, the alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're they're ragtag still. They're not really flying the sleek equipment. They've got some banged up ships and weapons that they're just using to fight. Um, Good stuff. It was again. Uh, I think it's what had to be done to get people back on board the Star Wars kind of train of thought, and build an empire, pun intended, of what's to come. It's going to be huge. I think this movie's going to make a ton of money, and I think the next few movies are going to make a lot of money too. And if they put out movies of this quality, um, I'd be happy. Again, I want to see a little bit more risk taking in the next few. I didn't mind too much that this was safe, but I can understand people's frustrations of the concept that you know they did this in this movie, but they already did this in this movie. They did this in this movie, but they already did this. I can understand that, but again, history repeats itself. Things are cyclical. Deal with it.
And I had a theory before the movie started that didn't quite pan out. I thought that this was going to be kind of subversive. You remember we were
Right.
talking about that?
Yeah.
It didn't quite pan out the way I had thought it might. No, and after seeing the movie now, it totally makes sense that this is the why they did it this way to me. It's almost like the movie itself is a protagonist. It's almost giving the audience something to identify with, just to kind of ease them back into how this is how Star Wars is going to be, because it's a different shift from the prequels from what we saw. It is harkening back to the original trilogy, as far as feel, as far as character interaction. Even it's just I don't know if they had a lack of confidence that they kind of had felt like they had to, parallel episode 4 a little bit in the story to help ease people into this.
Hmm.
I don't know what it was exactly why they did it, but it does work.
Yeah, I agree, and it's hard to ask you about this, but can you rewind yourself to when you saw Phantom Menace in theaters?
Yes, I can. I was actually thinking about that. Leaving the theater, I was with my brother-in-law and brother, and I said, guys, when I left Phantom Menace, nobody clapped.
Right,
There was
right.
very little emotional engagement with the movie.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not even my least favorite of the bunch.
Right.
I think I mentioned this to you. I think Attack of the Clones is the worst out of every Star Wars film,
Mm-hmm.
uh, for so many reasons that we could probably get into in a whole show of its own. I think Phantom Menace actually had some, despite a lot of badness, some great moments to it, but so many weaknesses. I found very few weaknesses in Force Awakens. I do want to see it again. I think it is rewatchable. Um, I could see people saying that they were bored by it because the fact is that it rehashed so much stuff. But I think it was just such a well-made movie that it makes up for some of the quote unquote unoriginality to it. And I think the acting was so good, and I think as a whole, it's gonna hold the test of time better than those prequels for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I do have one. Okay, can we start throwing up the spoiler warning for
Okay,
people? Can we do
let's
that?
do it. Here we go. So that was our general kind of take on the film. If you don't want any spoilers, we'll catch you later. If you have seen it, you want some spoilers, we're going to get into it. That's going to be the rest of our show. We're just going to talk about some major plot points. Spoiler, 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 and last warning.
Yeah.
Serious now. Okay, go ahead. Floor is yours.
All right. I want to start from the beginning because
Let's do it.
I feel like from the jump, I felt like it was a little choppy. I think it took a little bit of time to write itself. The opening sequence was cool with the stormtroopers raiding that area
Mm-hmm.
and BB-8 getting the map.
Yeah, yeah. Max von Sydow getting killed.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But then after that, I just kind of felt like it was the thing that I kept thinking of was the first Avengers and how it was really shaky to begin with, and I thought, oh boy, I'm getting a little nervous.
Hmm.
But then once Finn and Ray hooked up together on Jakku, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Check it.
thought, I
Yep.
thought, okay, it's all right now.
They had great on-screen chemistry together too. They worked so well together.
They did.
There was, just really well. And just to go back to that point about that opening sequence on Jakku, where the village is being slaughtered.
Yes.
You know, instead of another Death Star, like I wish they didn't go that route. I wish they didn't go super mega ultra 10 times Death Star. I wish they paralleled what they were kind of talking about was in the Nazi regime,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just going planet by planet and just slaughtering people like they did in that village. Like imagine those sequences of just like this giant army going into Coruscant and just wiping out the Senate and wiping everyone out and going to another planet, and like those are the sequences. You don't need a Death Star when you got an army like that.
No, I agree. I thought that. I'm still not sure what I feel about having, the super Death Star, to be honest. But
Because
it wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm not sitting there watching it and thinking, oh, Episode 4 or oh, Return of the Jedi. I'm actually into it while I'm watching it.
yeah, again, it's a gripe because I think they could have went in a different direction. I don't think they had to have done super mega awesome Death Star. They didn't have to do that. It's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie, people. It's not bad. Who's saying it's bad? I don't understand you. It's
No,
not bad.
no. There are people bitching about JJ. There are people bitching about,
Sure.
the parallels to Episode 4,
Did it
obviously.
feel like a J.J. Abrams film to you though?
No. No, I don't think so.
Neither do I. I didn't get J.J. from this. I couldn't have picked this out of a J.J. Abrams lineup. It did not feel it. You know, and I'm not a J.J. hater, but he's got a specific style to himself, and I think he kind of said, "I'm not going to do my style. I'm going to do a technically good movie."
He did. This
And
is
that's what he did.
this is technically a sound job he did. The action was good. I mean, the movie is moving. It never
It's
stops.
2 hours. It's pretty fast. It goes by really fast. It doesn't.
does.
There's a couple parts that drag a little, but I mean, it's you know, uh, some great stuff. I mean, it flows really well when the Millennium Falcon appears when they find it. Yeah, maybe a little bit of too coincidental, but still awesome nonetheless.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe if there's one thing you can say is this a JJ movie. Every now and then he does rely on convenience a little
Sure.
bit too much. Yeah.
Sure, it's convenient that they found the Millennium Falcon on this junk planet.
Yeah.
It's convenient that Han Solo and Chewbacca were in the area to detect the Millennium Falcon. After all these years, they finally find the Millennium Falcon. You
Yeah.
know, so there's coincidence at play. Uh, but you know, the Millennium Falcon stuff is really awesome. It was really fun to see Rey flying that and Finn, blasting away. Some cool sequences there.
Oh, absolutely.
When she turns off the power so he can get the final shot on one of the
Oh yeah.
uh, was that the X-wings, right?
The TIE fighters.
TIE
Yeah.
fighters,
Yeah.
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 Pretty cool, And then yeah, I mean it moves along, and I think the central kind of plot line is pretty weak though. A map to Luke Skywalker,
What is that?
like that. What I don't get it. It's like there's a map to, like, the only thing I can think of is when Luke left, he left a map just in case shit started hitting the fan and they had to find him. But then what's the point of going missing? So he basically, the one thing is not kind of the flashback or the vision
Yeah.
that Ray has of Luke touching R2D2.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get that he imparted the map into R2D2 and then put him on standby, and he would power up when the time was right. You know?
Man, but the end shot doesn't feel like that
No.
because he can't decide if he wants to pick up the mantle or not.
Right.
I don't know. It's just so weird. It does defeat the purpose of going off into seclusion because
Right.
apparently you're afraid. You're afraid of what wisdom you're imparting on people is actually causing damage. So he's isolating himself.
Yeah. It's just really weird that was the plot line, is a map to Luke Skywalker. Like, who's going to leave a map to himself? It's like a fucking treasure hunt. you know?
Right.
That was kind of weird.
That
Like,
was a little weird.
Do you get an impression that Rey is Luke's daughter?
I do 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels there.
Yeah.
Maybe felt that he had to abandon her to save her.
Well,
Similar.
he Obi-Wan'd her.
Yeah.
He hid her from everyone, the good side and the bad side.
Right.
The powers that be. He just wanted her out of the way.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking from that.
Okay, some other spoiler stuff. Did the Kylo Ren as Han and Leia's daughter, Han and Leia's son, work for you?
Okay, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, we only saw his face for just like this a little bit, like 2 scenes, but it worked, and I thought he did a good job. It worked for me. This is what Star Wars is, right? I mean, this is what we've. It's just like kind of one family's
Shakespearean. It's
Yeah,
no,
right,
it's
there you go.
very Shakespearean. It's you think back to like the influences of Lucas and the Kurosawa samurai films, and
yeah.
how a lot of that even pulled from Shakespeare, and nothing's original. I mean, there's nothing original. Shakespeare stole from people. Like, there's nothing original. So you might as well steal from the best. And this is a very Shakespearean tale. And so yeah, here you go. You have, son ends up being bad and killing father. How'd you like that scene?
I liked it, but you knew it was coming. I think.
I literally knew it was coming because someone spoiled it for me on Facebook. My dumbass went on social media and saw a screen cap of Han Solo being killed.
Oh well, yeah. I guess that would do it. I kind of felt
yeah.
it was coming, though. I kind of felt that Han was going to die. I didn't see any other way out of it.
Yeah. Because you didn't see Han doing any more movies. You didn't see Harrison Ford doing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that was in the back of my mind. Like, well, he's old. He broke his foot just walking around the Millennium Falcon. I mean, yeah. So I thought it was a good scene. I think it definitely sets things up really well.
Honestly, would not have, like, when you thought that Poe was dead in the beginning. Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
When you thought he was dead, I was like, I don't mind that. I think that's a good death. I thought Chewbacca was gonna get killed, and I would have been like, that's good death.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Finn gets slashed by Kylo in the snow fight,
Mm-hmm.
and you think he might die, I'm like, that would be a good death. Like, maybe I'm a horrible person, but it's just like I keep thinking, it's like, man, that would be good death. Maybe I'm too Game of Thrones out.
Oh,
Yeah. Um,
but
but
the Han death didn't work for you, or no?
no, it worked. It
Okay.
worked fine. It worked fine. Again, like I knew it was coming. Um, I think the scene worked well enough. You kind of had a feeling that he wasn't going to be able to bring Kylo to the light side again, and there's an inevitable showdown between Rey and Kylo. And I actually like that. I actually like the fact that Kylo was so vulnerable because he still is young, and you kind of get the impression that uh, you know, what if Anakin wasn't melted into a half robot? What if he was just like young and went right into the dark side and just became Vader? He would go through those same kind of motions that Kylo's going through right now.
Absolutely.
And
And
only
yeah,
Kylo is living up to the expectations of his grandfather Vader, you know?
I actually really liked Kylo. I thought this is the first time ever we've seen emotionally damaged Jedi. We've seen the actual conflict that goes on inside of someone
Hmm.
when especially when they choose the dark side, and you're embracing and becoming the embodiment of fear and anger. That's what you rely on, and that's what he was. I don't think we've ever seen that before on this level. In Return of the Jedi, Luke is just saying, I can sense there's good in you. We didn't actually see that or get a sense of that until Luke told us. But we're actually seeing the conflict inside of Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I liked it. I saw a lot of people complaining. It's like, oh, he's a little whiny bitch. Like, no,
No.
he's a really mentally fucked up guy.
Yes, he's in a really bad spot right
You know,
now.
like his rage bursts are great when he's
Yes.
just like pulls out his lightsaber and starts trashing stuff, and the two stormtroopers kind of like back away. You know,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
like they do the Homer Simpson like walking away slowly.
That's my.
Uh,
Yeah.
that was a really good scene. That was fun.
It was.
Uh, I think he's got a lot of quote unquote baggage, and I think it works. I think it works a lot better than it worked with Hayden Christensen.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
And I know that Revenge of the Sith is the one that gets the praise out of the trilogies, but I still think that Hayden wasn't convincing enough.
No.
And whether it was script related or actor related, whatever it is, Adam Driver pulls it off better than Hayden could in those prequel movies.
Oh yeah. I think so. He does it really well. Yeah, I was never really bought on the fact that Anakin turned to the dark side.
No,
He
no,
turned he
this
turned to the
is
dark side easier than Harvey Dent went like fucking homicidal maniac.
right, right. And I think that's one of the problems with doing these prequels was you have backstory to your main story, right? You already have this established backstory for those original movies. Then to make movies out of that backstory and you have to add backstory to a backstory,
Yeah.
it's just like, are you kidding me? It like becomes so watered down at that point.
Hmm.
Whereas this, it's like now there's 30 years between these movies and the original trilogy, right?
About 30
Imagine
years, right? Yeah. Yeah.
about 30 years, I think they said the difference was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now imagine if, you know, 15 years down the road now, they make those movies that fill in those 30 years and how awful that would be,
Mm.
you know?
Oh, no doubt. Actually, I think we are going to see the backstory.
I think we'll see some in
Some of it.
flashback
Yeah,
mode.
what that whole like that rainstorm battle was going on with made Luke decide to walk away.
We'll see some of it. We'll get
Yeah.
to, but I don't know if we'll physically see a lot of that or just get a lot of that filled in the next movies.
Yes, we're going to get a sense of at least what happened exactly.
Which I'm fine
Yeah.
with that because again, that's backstory. We don't have to necessarily
I
see the
what you're saying. I
backstory.
see what you're saying.
We don't have to have
Yeah.
spend 9 hours or 8 hours or whatever on this backstory when it can be summed up in a couple of good, scenes of dialogue. Like I
Right.
think that's what this movie did is just filled in the last 30 years. And you're ready. Okay, cool. This is what happened.
Yeah.
That's what the fucking opening crawl's for.
That's true.
Which, by the way, if you want to know, it
Oh
just
yeah.
essentially said, there's good guys won, but the bad guys are back, and General Organa sends her best pilot to help find Luke Skywalker because he's been missing.
Okay. All right.
That's what the opening crawl said. So
There we go. Excellent.
catches up on 30 years.
Yeah. And since we're just kind of talking about the parallels, I want to say I feel like this movie got the Jedi that were described in the original trilogy, it got them right. I always had a sense from the original trilogy that, it was a kind of a loose relationship with Jedi. You bump into somebody who's got a force, is very force sensitive or has some potential, and you can either train them or not. Kind of like, in a martial arts movie,
Right.
you might bump
Right.
into a talented amateur and you train them. It was so institutionalized in the prequels. I never quite felt like I never felt like that's what the original trilogy was describing. I
Right.
feel like we've gotten back to that now in this movie. I feel like it had a lot more respect for the Jedi as described in the original trilogy, and had a lot more respect for the Force. The Force was really cool the way Kylo Ren was reading people's minds with it.
Mm.
And don't tell me that wasn't a badass spot when somebody tried to shoot him. He just stops.
Oh,
He
he
stops
just
the
stops
blasters.
it.
Yes.
Stops the. Oh my god, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then after he's gone, the blaster shot just. Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah.
I think overall, though, I'm glad that they made the mention is like bring Kylo Ren back to me for more training. Yeah, the dude needs more training because he almost got his ass kicked by a dude holding a lightsaber that's never really used a lightsaber. A guy that was fighting with a lightsaber and got his ass kicked by a stormtrooper with a mace. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. He needs to work
he
a
needs a
little
little
more.
bit more work on the lightsaber.
I
Maybe less fancy lightsaber and more actual being able to use it.
agree.
It's kind of cool seeing that. It's like that lightsaber belongs to me. It's like, nah, come and get it.
Yeah, that was awesome. I thought also the Force, being the Force again, it shows you things, is what Yoda would say.
Right.
And she definitely got a sense of that in the basement of that tavern bar,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it just kind of showed her everything that had happened, kind of. I thought that
Yeah.
was nifty.
And you got Lupita Luong. She played the alien that ran that place.
Maz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 1,000-year-old alien. Kind of a Yoda mixed with I guess a Jabba the Hutt in a way. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it was nice. It was nice to see that type of scene again because that's a very beloved Star Wars scene, the cantina. You know, and and the bar scenes and stuff like that. It's just that mixture of it was nice to see again. That was fun. See that environment.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. Um,
Don't make eye contact with anyone.
oh, and one thing I found refreshing in this is that the stormtroopers actually had some kind of menace to them.
They could actually hit people.
Right.
They finally could hit a shot. And is there a theory behind that their visors cause issue with them being able to shoot? Like I don't know.
Isn't that it? Is that it? Is because Luke couldn't see out of his, so everyone says, "Oh, that's it."
That's the rumor, and the fact is that John Boyega can take off his helmet and he can shoot everything. You know, he's
Maybe
hitting
it is.
everything.
I mean, the
So,
Empire was a huge fan of form over function.
and that's the whole thing. Is like Boyega was a janitor and he's able to shoot everything and use a lightsaber.
They need to work at their talent here. I mean, how they scout talent. He could have been much bigger than a janitor.
Yeah. I think disappoint. Phantasma was kind of a disappointment.
I
And
thought she'd have a bigger role too.
well, I saw it today. I guess super spoiler alert. I didn't even know this, but she signed on for the next movie, so I'm guessing she's not gone.
She's gonna be.
I'm assuming she's gonna be pissed and she comes back, and maybe she'll have a bigger role in the next one.
This
Same
movie-
thing. Like, I mean, freaking Luke was in it for 10 seconds.
Well,
The next movie's gonna be his.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
He's gonna own that. Like, this was Harrison's movie. This was Harrison's send off. Next movie's gonna, Luke is gonna pull a Yoda. He's
Yeah,
gonna be the big Jedi trainer.
it'll be very interesting to see how they handle Luke. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right. And then they kill Luke off in this one. Then they kill Leia off in the next one. And
I guess so. And then that's it. Then they're fresh for the next batch.
yeah, I have a feeling like Yeah, um, gosh, I'm drawing a blank now. The Game of Thrones stormtrooper lady,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Phasma.
Phasma.
I
Yeah.
have a feeling she's kind of the Boba Fett now. She's going to be showing up and being a badass. I think you're absolutely
Yeah, I
correct.
think
Yeah.
so. I think she. Yeah, I think she'll be back, and it's not going to be pretty. Um, I don't know. Like again, I think just kind of reiterate what I said in the first half. It was fun. It's not a perfect film. It's far from perfect. It's got its issues, but it's definitely not bad. It's definitely not on the level of those prequels.
No, no, no.
I have zero interest in watching the prequels. Like I never
Ever
feel
again,
like
ever again, never.
I never feel like, oh, I can watch it. I have to watch these prequels. I kind of get the feeling that you know I need to see this. I'm not gonna go see it again in theaters. I'll wait. Because I mean, me just getting out to a theater in the first place says something.
Yeah, no kidding.
Um, yeah, I'll wait, but definitely I'll see it. I'll see it a couple more times. I need to digest some things and see if this feeling holds up. Like I get it. Um, I was on a kind of a roller coaster high when I saw it. Afterwards, started processing it, started picking it apart. Then, as I was dwelling on it and thinking about it more, I was liking it more. And we'll see. We'll see how a second watch happens. But I want to give it a second watch,
Oh yeah,
and that says something.
yeah. I want to see it in 2D as well. I'm really curious how the rolling out of all the characters is going to play out. The second time I watched it, or the third time I watch it.
Right.
Is that going to work still, or was it just that one time shot?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I think it sets up nicely. I think the characters are set up like a good checkerboard or chessboard or whatever. I think everything's kind of set up nicely. JJ's kind of, he's done like the prep work. He's done the mise en place, and now it's time for these guys to build a nice meal for us. Next couple. So,
I mean, we're assuming that Disney, with the way they're talking, is this is never going to end. This they have
yeah.
started a plot now that's never going to end. They're not setting up a trilogy; they're setting up a series.
Does it have to end though? I mean, that's the whole thing. Think of history. Like history never ends, and there's wars all the time, and there's different enemies. You can have peace. You can have peace for centuries, right? You can just flash forward a few centuries, and you have a new villain.
Mm-hmm.
And there's elements of the Force, and there's you can do that. Honestly, I don't it's not. I don't see an issue with that. Like it's their property now. They can do that, but I don't want to see a rehashing like this next movie better not just be a remake of Empire Strikes Back. No one better get frozen in carbonite in the next one.
Oh, I don't think they're going to do that at all. I think
Better
they're
not happen.
smart enough to avoid that. I think.
Better not be Finn stuck in carbonite.
No, no.
Yeah. You got anything else? I think
That's
we
it.
kind of dissected this. I think we went through this quite a lot.
I think so. No, that's all I got for now. I'm sure when I see it a second time, because usually when you and I talk about a movie, we've seen it at least two times. Yeah.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting if we do
Oh yeah.
a rewatch of this and see how we feel. And the other thing we got to do is we got to re-listen to or rewatch our psychic episode and see how right she was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think much, but we'll see.
I think she was more right than she was wrong. That's the funny part.
Probably, I
Yeah.
think so. I think she mentioned something about Luke and having a major female interest,
Yes.
and that's actually Ray.
Yeah.
So
Wild. All right.
okay. Everyone, let us know what your thoughts are. Make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe is the best way to follow us. You can also follow us on Facebook and comment on our page there. We're going to have a lot of great interviews, movie reviews, and other fun stuff coming up. Abe, is it cliche for me to say, may the force be with you?
Yes, it is.
Then live long and prosper.
Oh.
Later.
Bye bye.